I am the Dementia Director for the Florida Department of Elder Affairs, and I serve the state. And I'm the first person to serve in this position. It's a brand new role for the state, and I'm one of only 9 dementia directors across the country. So I have a big job to fill, and I'm very excited and humbled to be the person to step into this space. I'm actually going to be meeting my colleagues from other states just next week in Washington, D.C., and we're going to come together to talk about all of the challenges and the exciting new approaches to addressing Alzheimer's and related dementia across our state infrastructure. So as we dig into this topic today, what I want to share with you is information about, of course, the prevalence of Alzheimer's. You're hearing a lot about that today. You just heard Secretary Branham speak to that a little bit. But that's really backing up why we're doing the things that we're doing and taking the approaches that we are and setting the goals that we've established. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the current programming that we offer to just kind of lay the groundwork for some of the new initiatives that we're tackling through the Florida Alzheimer's Center of Excellence and also through the efforts of our State Health Improvement Plan. So as Secretary Branham said, we have more than 580,000 Floridians living with Alzheimer's disease right now. I know, it's a big number. It's kind of hard to take in. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around just exactly that many people, right? Now think twice that many people serving as family caregivers, right? That is a lot. We've got a lot of people to serve. And it is the 6th leading cause of death in Florida. And as scary as those numbers are projected to grow by about 24% and reach 720,000 individuals in just 2 short years. So we've gotten a tremendous influx of seniors moving to Florida. It's fantastic. We're thrilled that they're here. We love it. Florida's a great place to retire and spend your senior years, but that also means that those of us who work in the senior space have our work cut out for us in building infrastructure that's sustainable. So if you're like me and you struggle with really big abstract numbers and you're trying to get your head around just how many is 720,000 people, that's just a little bit smaller than the city where I live in Jacksonville. So imagine if every single resident of Jacksonville had Alzheimer's disease. And then a city twice that size was serving as a family caregiver. That's what we're working to address. We also want to make you aware that African Americans are twice as likely as their white counterparts to develop Alzheimer's disease, and Hispanics are 1.5 times as likely to be at risk for the disease. Now, some of that is rooted in a little bit of genetic precondition, but a lot of that is really due to the fact that there's less access to support in culturally diverse communities. So we need to do exactly what we're doing today, get folks together, talk about the issues, talk about the resources in a way that is responsive and culturally respectful. So again, our Secretary Branham, you just heard from her. I want to tell you a little bit about the role of the Department of Elder Affairs. We are responsible as the state unit on aging. We're responsible for administering the human services and long-term care programs that serve residents of seniors. Our services are available to any resident of Florida who's 60 years of age or older, or if you have a qualifying condition like an intellectual or developmental disability. Secretary Branham was appointed by Governor DeSantis back in December of 2021. So even though she's had sort of a short tenure, I'm telling you, she hit the ground running because she's really got a lot of enthusiasm, and you will find no more passionate or compassionate advocate for seniors, especially with respect to Alzheimer's and related dementia. That's the world that she came from, so we're very grateful for her leadership in this space. Oops, went too fast. I'm not going to go through all of these with you. I know that's a lot of numbers. I'm not going to give everybody a big, long history lesson here, but I do want to hit you with some of the important milestones. So you can see here this orangey red square all the way over here on the side. 1965, the Older Americans Act was established, and that's the major vehicle for delivering funding to the states to support these types of programs. So from 1965 and then jump ahead to 1985, the Alzheimer's Disease Initiative was established, and that's really the arm within Florida that delivers the programming that supports people with Alzheimer's disease and their family caregivers. Now we're going to jump ahead a little bit more. I want to tell you about 2015 and 2016 when we established the Dementia Care and Cure Initiative task forces. I'm going to tell you more about that in just a moment, but you can see all of the milestones that occurred between those two big events. Then jumping ahead to 2019, Governor DeSantis placed Alzheimer's disease on the state health improvement plan, making it a standalone priority. It was the first time that a state was addressing Alzheimer's disease as something separate from a chronic health issue or something like a vulnerable population. He said, this is different. We need to talk about it differently. We need to develop programs to address it differently. So he made it its own initiative. And then just this year, we established the Florida Alzheimer's Center of Excellence. We actually did that right here in Broward County. It was great to spend some time right here in the neighborhood. There's exciting things happening in Florida, but especially exciting things happening in Broward County. You heard from Dr. Moskowitz earlier this morning from Broward Health North talking about the exciting research that they're doing. So we were thrilled to be able to announce this new initiative from just up the street. So before I dig into telling you about those new programs, I want to tell you a little bit about what already exists in Florida. So as part of my role, I get a chance to talk with other states and find out about the type of initiatives they're running. And I'm excited to tell you that Florida is really ahead of the pack. We've got some really great services that exist, and we truly are sort of the leaders in this space. So again, one of the big pieces here is the Alzheimer's Disease Initiative. That's all of the efforts such as consumable medical supplies, it's counseling for individuals with dementia and their caregivers. It also includes respite care. The ADI, the Alzheimer's Disease Initiative, from the government, we abbreviate everything. So the ADI is also the piece that funds our memory disorder clinics. We have 17 of those across the state. I'll tell you more about that in just a second. And it also funds our Florida Brain Bank. The other component here is the Community Care for the Elderly program. And this is the program that provides community-based services that are on that continuum of care. So as the individual's needs increase, so does the type of service that we provide to that person. And we do it in the least restrictive way possible to preserve the independence of the individual using the services. And we do it all through our local offices, through the area agencies on aging. So if you're from this area, you have one of the easiest ones to memorize because not only is the name easy, it's simply the Area Agency on Aging of Broward County. It also serves what we call a planning and service area of just Broward County. So when I started, PSA 10 immediately became my favorite because there was only one county to memorize. So that was easy. It's just for Broward County. You can see PSA 3's got like 13 counties or something. I still don't have it memorized, but Broward County is PSA 10, and the services that are available to any resident are available through calling the 1-800-96-ELDER helpline, where you get the assessment and then you're kind of connected to the services that are available through that agency. So we think of it really as the gateway. This is the first step to accessing all of the services that you or your loved one might need. And similarly, we have, this is the map for the memory disorder clinics. So these are state funded and they're statutorily established. That means it's written out in law that these entities serve as a memory disorder clinic. Wherever you are in Florida, you should be no more than 2 hours away from a memory disorder clinic. We have 17 of them positioned around the state. So if you're down in the Keys, it might be a little bit more than 2 hours away, but hey, at least you're in the Keys, so you've got that going for you. The memory disorder clinic that serves Broward County is, of course, Broward Health North. And as I said, you heard from Dr. Moskowitz earlier, that's a piece of this is the research that's going on over there. So you can, at the memory disorder clinic, you can access memory evaluations, you can get referrals to other services, they offer support groups, they offer caregiver training, and everything you need to get yourself situated to be a better caregiver. Another big resource that we have in the community is the Dementia Care and Cure Initiative. So along with the Area Agency on Aging, there are partners helping us put on this conference today. And this is really the grassroots effort, helping communities become more dementia capable and dementia friendly so that it's easier to age in place and still participate in your community in the way that you want to. So these local task forces have the autonomy to shape their programs and to develop initiatives that make sense for them, because every community is a little bit different. The folks in Alachua, they might need something different than what's going on down here in Broward, and we want those local task forces to be able to tackle it in a way that makes sense. So today's conference is an excellent example of that type of work, but as I said, each community is doing it a little bit differently. In the Orlando area, where they have such a heavy tourism presence, they have a real strong initiative for dementia-friendly dining. And over in the Pasco Pinellas area, where they're affiliated with the Great American Teach-In, they do an education project with the local schools where they help children understand what Alzheimer's and dementia is. So it's really exciting to see all of the great ideas coming together. And then my role and our DCCI coordinator, Amber Ladd, we come together to share their ideas and efforts so that people aren't reinventing the wheel at every turn. The other big component here that I want to tell you about is the Alzheimer's Disease Advisory Committee. So another abbreviation for you. We refer to this as the ADAC. The ADAC, again, a piece of legislation, it's written out in statute that the committee shall advise the department regarding legislature, programmatic, and administrative matters that relate to persons with Alzheimer's disease and their caretaker. So this is a committee of 15 individuals, 11 of whom are appointed by the governor, 2 are appointed by the Senate, and 2 by the Speaker of the House. And they come together at quarterly meetings to talk about the challenges that we face in the Alzheimer's and related dementia world. They hear from researchers that we want to bring all the information that we can to the table, and they talk about some of these deep issues, and they make recommendations about policy and about the way that we provide care out in the community. And then every year they put together an annual report that they deliver then to the governor and the House and the Senate and to the Department of Elder Affairs. And we use that report for folks to then shape the coming world in our Alzheimer's state plan. Okay, so that brings us to our brand new project, the Florida Alzheimer's Center of Excellence, or FACE. As I said, this was announced by Governor DeSantis back in June right here in Broward County. And this is really just so exciting for a couple of reasons. As Secretary Branham mentioned in her welcome video, one of the reasons is that it's one of the first times that the Department of Elder Affairs is going to dig into the work of offering direct service to our Florida residents. We're going to do that to support the family caregivers. And it's also the first time that we're going to have employees of the department serving out in the community. So they're going to be remotely placed in places where they can develop local knowledge and make really strong recommendations to family caregivers. So in phase 1, which we're launching right now, is designed to support family caregivers. And then phase 2 is working to help connect family caregivers who need to become consumers, who need to get out and maybe purchase professional support for their loved one as their loved one's needs are changing. So phase 1 is connecting family caregivers to what we call care navigators. These are local experts. They are gathering information about the local community, and they're connecting with the caregivers, not just once. This is not like, the old school days where we picked up the phone and asked for the time and temperature. It's not that. And it's not Google. We all have the same Google in our pocket, right? So this needs to be more than just what you can search for on the internet. This is individuals who are really highly knowledgeable of the resources that are available in their area, who are helping the caregiver to develop the care plan, offering them counseling, a friendly ear, someone that they don't have to repeat their circumstances and their story over and over again. It is truly a trusted relationship between that family caregiver and the care navigator so that they can access the type of support that they need. As I said, they're going to serve as regional experts, so we're positioning them within the PSA map, that same map that we use to outline the area agencies on aging, so that the individuals can really get to know what's available. We want them to do more than say, well, it says here that there's a support group down the street. We want them to say, well, I know Miss Jones who runs that support group, and she says if you can come on Thursdays, that's the best day, because that's when they have the best crowd. And be sure to park at the front of the building so you don't have to walk all the way around. That's the level of detail that we want them to be able to offer. And we want them to talk about services that are not just from the state. Although we're very proud of the services that we offer, we don't offer everything. So sometimes it's a great support group at a church, it's a nutrition class at the Y, and we want these care navigators to be able to speak with the caregivers about that. Oops, went too fast. Now, of course, we know sometimes there are situations where we can't seem to find the right answer. So when that happens, the care navigators are going to bring those circumstances before the ADAC, the Alzheimer's Disease Advisory Committee, and they'll do what we call a peer review. So that means all hands on deck, all brains on the problem, everybody working together to try to find a resource to meet this family's need. And if it turns out that the circumstances are just so challenging that there's not a resource available, well, now we have the perfect example of an unmet need in community that the Alzheimer's Disease Advisory Committee can share when they write that annual report and send the message back to leadership that this is something that we haven't done a good job of addressing out in community, and here's how we think we could do this better. So it's going to make a great example for those circumstances, but hopefully they'll be able to solve every problem. So just a quick summary of how this works. The family caregiver is going to connect with the care navigator. They'll get referrals to local resources. They get ongoing counseling and support, and those challenging circumstances get a peer review. In phase 2, we then acknowledge the sites that consumers might need to access to ensure that they get all of the help and support that they need. So this is sort of like that good housekeeping seal of approval, so that when you're trying to find maybe an assisted living facility or a skilled nursing facility or a daycare, that you have some idea of who you're reaching out to. All right, so I just have a couple minutes left. I'm going to tell you about the efforts of our state health improvement plan. I mentioned before that in 2019, Governor DeSantis used executive action to place Alzheimer's disease and related dementia on the existing SHIP cycle. And like I said, that really became the first time that we were addressing this issue separate from things like chronic health conditions or aging or vulnerable populations. It continues on the state health improvement plan today. On the current cycle, it's listed as priority 1, although the numbers don't actually indicate rank. I like to think that they do. So we're going to refer to it as priority area 1. And the folks who serve on the SHIP work groups really come from all walks of the senior industry. So we've got people serving from the Department of Health, we've got Department of Children and Families, the Alzheimer's Association is a real strong partner there, and they come together to build things like our resource guides and caregiver toolkits, and they also look at some kind of weedy, challenging issues like the social and economic conditions that impact health. So I'm not going to go through every single goal and objective. This is a lot of details. I do have the website listed where you can read about this in more detail if you'd like to. But just very quickly, goal 1 is to strengthen the capacity to address Alzheimer's disease and related dementias in Florida. As I said, we've got a lot of folks moving to Florida that are going to need our support, while at the same time we're battling a dwindling geriatric workforce. So we need to ensure that we're bolstering the people who work in this space as well. Goal 2 is to ensure a competent Alzheimer's disease and related dementia workforce, so very closely related. We want to bring folks into this space and let them know what a good way this is to grow your career, and then we want to give them all the tools that they need to be good at their jobs. And then in goal 3, we look to enhance support for those living with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia and their caregivers. We always look at the two in tandem. We never leave the caregiver out of the scenario. And then this other piece, the social and economic conditions impacting health. This is a brand new work group, and so they're beginning to tackle some of the things that are maybe sort of indirectly impacting your experience as a caregiver or if you're living with the disease. So if you want to read more about the State Health Improvement Plan, you can check out this website here. It's just floridaship.org. It's got all of the goals and objectives written out. You can access the resources that we built with the SHIP. You can also read about FACE and all of our other initiatives on the Elder Affairs website. And if you have any other questions, my cell phone is listed there. Please feel welcome to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about what your needs are, help you solve any challenges that you're facing. You can also send me an email. I've got cards if anybody wants to catch up with me later. I'll be here all day. So I just want to say thank you for having me here today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time to build this community of caregivers. It's hopeful to look out in this crowd and see that there are so many people from the same community. We're all in this together. We're all working together. So thank you for letting me be a part of this today.